Welcome into the WalterPicks Fantasy Football Show. We are back here again to officially give you the starts, the sits, and the defensive streamers and some kickers for the first week of the Fantasy Football Playoffs. Seth, this
Let's
is
go.
insane. It's amazing. And we've made it. So if you're in this video, congratulations to you. We'll start our starts with Aaron Jones in this week. Now, he didn't have a great game last week. It was a very positive matchup against my Washington Commanders. He didn't really do much. Not over 10 fantasy points. He only had 45% of the snaps, which is one of his lowest numbers when healthy of the year. 14 carries, but we did see Jordan Mason actually did work in a bit with 11 carries and a touchdown himself. So why is he a start this week? Well, you look at the matchup here, that has a lot to do with it. The Dallas Cowboys, this game is projected to be one of, if not the highest of the week, I believe at 52.5 points. When you have games like that, you want to be taking every single piece from it that you possibly can. We saw the same thing with the Cowboys and the Lions in previous weeks. So this is when we want to go through and start all of our running backs. I will not say Jordan Mason is a start, but I could understand it if you're in a deeper league. And this is the week where you want to be going with your studs. Seth, what do you think about these running backs here against the Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm excited for Aaron Jones. He's got some target upside. I think we didn't see in week 14 that I'm hoping to see in week 15, a little bit more targets. This game was a little bit odd, right? The Vikings won 31-0. I expect kind of the opposite to happen against the Cowboys. The Cowboys offense is going to be awesome. We know George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb is likely to play. If not, Ryan Flournoy is going crazy as well. So excited to see what Aaron Jones can do with the efficiency he brought to the table. 5.1 yards, 5.4 actually yards per carry, which is amazing. And in a game where the Vikings may be down a little bit, like you said, high scoring game, he gets a couple catches, he gets those 50 yards, maybe sneaks in a touchdown. He could be a boom player that helps you get a win this week.
And I will say, Ryan Flournoy is definitely a start if there's no CeeDee Lamb, guys. Just a little bit of an addition there for you. But we can also go through and start Jakobi Meyers, which seems absolutely insane, the fact that we're doing it. Guys, if you appreciate this video and you want some good luck for the playoffs, make sure to hit the like button. It helps us as creators so much. But it also helps that Jakobi Meyers gets a matchup against the New York Jets, which looks a little bit negative in the app here. But you can tell a lot of that is because of Sauce Gardner. And he was traded. He's not in the team anymore. Their secondary has gotten a lot weaker since he has been out. And Jakobi Meyers isn't technically the wide receiver one on this team. They still have Brian Thomas Jr. But you look at this matchup, it still is relatively positive. And he's been running some of the most routes on this team. He's consistently top two up there with Brian Thomas Jr. And you can see in the target share what exactly is happening because of that. I mean, last week he had his highest targeted game with this Jaguars roster with 10. Didn't catch a ton of them. Were they all catchable targets? That's up to Trevor Lawrence. But now we have a better matchup here where he should be able to have a ton of targets and passing volume as well from Trevor Lawrence in more must-win games for playoff contention. Seth, what do you think about Jakobi Meyers? Because he is technically a little bit risky with the role and the competition he has at the position.
Yeah, I just want to point this out. That says 3 rushing attempts. I mean, anytime a guy's getting 3 rushing attempts as a wide receiver, it's like, put that guy in your lineup, man. Put that guy in your lineup. His target per route run was incredible. His target percentage was incredible. He's been scoring a touchdown each of the last few weeks. Now, they have been against softer matchups. The Jets, while they don't have Sauce Gardner, they have maintained a little bit of still more difficult than some of the other teams. Plus, if they don't score, teams tend to run a little bit more, which obviously going to inflate that stat as well. But still, Jakobi Meyers has been a top-tier target. He's been a top-tier red zone target. They begin with rushing opportunity. Obviously, trying to get this guy the ball. So it's someone I think you can put in your starting lineup. Just keep in mind, he has scored a touchdown the last 3 weeks. Without that touchdown, the weeks are a little bit more mediocre, right? Except week 13 against Tennessee. So I'm not saying he's a must start, a smash start for you, because he probably does need a touchdown to get that 14 or 15 points, but still a great start, a solid start in week 15.
That's a great point. Let us know in the comments, guys, who you have your start sit questions between, because this is probably the most important week of the year. And again, the best week to go through and stream defenses. We'll have that at the end of the video. We have some good ones. We also have another good start with Wan'Dale Robinson coming into this week's matchup. Now, he's coming off a bye, which is a much needed bye, first of all, for Jackson Dart and this Giants team. But also it's coming against the Washington Commanders, who, yes, they've been a little bit better at defense since Dan Quinn has taken over the play calling, but nothing close to something in a matchup that you want to avoid. They are top 10, I believe top 5 as well in fantasy points. You can see on the WalterPicks app in allowing fantasy points to the position. And Wan'Dale Robinson has been averaging over 10 targets a game over the last month and a half of football. You can't say no to that. This is a guy we're starting. There's not much of a reason not to. His percentage of being in starting lineups is not as high as it should be. Seth, any addition, anything we should not be starting Wan'Dale Robinson for?
No.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. We'll go to the next start with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, the tight ends here. these guys are in a pretty interesting of a situation because they have the Cincinnati Bengals matchup, first of all, which are allowing the number one most points to opposing tight ends. Now, if you take out last week where they played the Buffalo Bills, Kincaid, Knox, they all put up a total of 38.7 fantasy points last week, all of the Bills tight ends. If you take that out, they're still number one in fantasy points allowed. So this is a spot where Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely can be in my starting lineup. Now, I understand it is a bit of a risk because they're both splitting snaps and routes run pretty much down the middle. Isaiah Likely has 12 targets over the last 2 weeks. Mark Andrews has 11. So you're going to be hoping for some touchdowns, which is possible because Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, the tight end in general, are being targeted in the red zone more than any other team. So this is a place where Lamar Jackson should be able to get his guys involved in the literal most positive matchup of the week. If I had to pick one of who I would rather go with, I would say it's Mark Andrews, even though he's technically a little bit of a disadvantage as far as target share goes. And Isaiah Likely has also been targeted and dropped in the end zone a lot. So if it was for those, I'm sure people would think he's a way better start than Mark Andrews. But Seth, what do you think about the two?
Yeah, I like both. I personally think Likely is the guy I'm going to go with. Like you said, some people think Andrews, some people think Likely. I think they're both okay. Like you said, amazing matchup. So we got to start with that. But Likely, he's kind of the bigger play guy. Like the receiving air yards he's been seeing in these games have been pretty good. Plus the red zone targets, I like what he's seen. He's had some bad touchdown luck. Like we saw against the Bengals, that ball kind of popped out on the 0-yard line. He had a touchdown taken away against the Steelers, which was pretty crazy as well. As a Steelers fan, I don't know what they're calling anymore. But this matchup against Cincinnati is going to be great. So I like Likely a little bit better, but I think either one could be a good option. Andrews is scary. I will say that. In the playoffs, he hasn't been great the last 3 weeks, and it's like, is that where I want to trust my season in this most important week? But this Bengals matchup, like you said, Knox was awesome. Hawes scored a touchdown. If you guys don't know Hawes for the Bills, I've got him in the WalterPicks 32-man league. And then Dalton Kincaid also scored a touchdown, I believe. So pretty amazing matchup this week for both these tight ends.
Yeah, it is a great matchup. And speaking of matchup specifically, Brock Purdy is a quarterback that we can go through and start, which isn't a conventional start because he's really only played, I believe, 5 games on the season. And you look at his game log, the games that he has played were against pretty good defenses, like the Browns in week 13, the Carolina Panthers secondary, which is still pretty decent in week 12. You had the Arizona Cardinals, and then you had the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Seahawks. Like, there really hasn't been a super positive matchup mixed into there. And now he gets the Tennessee Titans, which is, I would say, by far the most positive that he's getting. And the Titans offense is actually looking a little bit decent right now. Like, they've been scoring. It hasn't completely been blowouts, which maybe it is this week. The 49ers defense is okay. They're kind of banged up. But regardless of if it is or isn't, this is a positive matchup for Brock Purdy. He has been passing a decent amount and he's somewhat efficient. He's scoring touchdowns. This is a guy that most people have outside their starting lineup that should be in our starting lineups this week. Seth, what do you think about Brock Purdy? Because he doesn't really have anything that stands out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. He should be in starting lineups. Like you said, he's faced some of the toughest matchups in the games that he's played. The schedule for the 49ers overall has been pretty brutal, honestly, just looking at it throughout this season, playing some of the toughest teams. They still got a great record. This team, most teams, you do not want a week 14 bye, but I think the week 14 bye was perfect for a couple teams this week, like the Patriots. Perfect timing for them, for the 49ers. Winning all these games with all the injuries, perfect timing for them as well. Purdy should be looking a lot sharper this week. Kittle's going to be refreshed. CMC is going to be refreshed. Purdy got an extra week to rest. I think we're going to see a really dangerous 49ers team this week where we're like, okay, this may be one of the teams to beat in the NFC, and Brock Purdy's going to be a huge part of that.
And speaking of dangerous, our first sit of the video, guys, is going to be Tony Pollard, who most people wouldn't regularly start. But after what he just did last week to one of the best defenses, people are starting to consider it. 28 fantasy points on only 59% of the snaps against the Cleveland Browns, 25 rushing attempts for 161 yards. He was very efficient too. He had a couple breakaway runs and 2 touchdowns. I don't think anybody could have expected this to happen. Now he's coming into the San Francisco 49ers, which their defense is a little banged up. They are positive in allowing fantasy points to the position, and the Titans offense has looked good at times. Why are we not starting him? Because he's still splitting snaps with Tony Pollard. He doesn't get an insane amount of receiving upside. He does have some, but if he doesn't score a touchdown, we cannot expect him doubling his season average of touches in another matchup here. Seth, am I crazy for saying that?
Definitely not crazy. Like we just talked about, the 49ers offense is powerful. And we saw Brock Purdy was scoring a couple touchdowns. CMC is also scoring plenty of rushing touchdowns as well. They're going to fall behind. They're going to need to pass. It's going to be a much less favorable matchup than they had against the Browns. And I say favorable in a game script kind of way. The Titans were in the game. They were ahead. They were winning vast majority of the game. That means you can afford to run the football. You can afford to pass the ball as well. And that's something that the Titans really haven't had a luxury of this season, where it's like we have to pass. Cam Ward's dropping back. Defenders are pinning their ears back, and they don't have the opportunity to run. So I think that's going to be the case this week against the 49ers. 49ers should win this game by quite a margin. That's going to really take away the upside of Tony Pollard.
Speaking of the rushing upside and the ability there, really is not there for David Montgomery, which is very surprising considering how green his stretch of matchups that he's just had are. We can look at it on the WalterPicks app here. I mean, last week he had the Dallas Cowboys 14.5 almost fantasy points. Isn't bad, but he did score a touchdown. The week before that against the Green Bay Packers, a good defense, 12.8 fantasy points. Not bad, but he scored a touchdown. The week before that, the New York Giants top 10 matchup. The Eagles, pretty decent matchup. The Commanders top 10 matchup. Like, since the bye week, he's not doing much. And you can see his snap share over the past few weeks is declining. 31% of the snaps last week. I believe that was one of, if not the lowest snap shares he's had all season. And it was a good game, like all things considered. And now he gets his against the Los Angeles Rams, which is the complete opposite of a matchup that the Cowboys wore. They were, you can see in the app, they're bottom 10. They don't allow a lot of fancy points at the position. And if he's not getting a ton of usage on his own already and really doesn't stand out in the pass catching game, it sounds to me like a Jahmyr Gibbs game if he doesn't score another touchdown. And even if he does, from what we've seen, he's not really that fancy startable, and I don't think can win you a week, which is what we want in the first week of the fantasy playoffs. Seth, do you think David Montgomery is a floor play or somebody we can trust?
I certainly don't think so. I mean, if you don't have anybody better, that's rough. I mean, you got to hope that he scores a touchdown. But against the Rams, Jahmyr Gibbs has been dominating. I'm certainly not playing David Montgomery. And exactly what you said, the main reason is if he scores a touchdown, his ceiling looks like an average of about 13 points. That's horrible if you're scoring a touchdown for that to be your ceiling, because other than that, you get 6 points, you get 5 points, and that's probably not going to be good enough when you face another playoff team.
And if we're talking about ceilings, Seth, I do not understand how Keenan Allen is still starting in over 50% of leagues right now. You look at his game log when we pull Keenan Allen up, he has not had one game over 10 fantasy points since week 7 against the Indianapolis Colts, which is a top 5. Like, it's not beautiful. I would also include Quentin Johnston in this tier of sits. I mean, it kind of is speaking for itself. Quentin Johnston is really boomer bust and has been very bust as of late. But both of these guys don't get a good matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs either. They're one of the best defenses in restricting offense. Like, they have one of the lowest pace of plays. Their defense is good. They can stop the team that they play against. And that is not good when you have a team that throws the ball to 8 different players on offense. So I don't trust either of these guys. Ladd McConkey would be my only start of the wide receivers out of this matchup. Seth, what do you think about this group as a total?
Yeah, probably not excited about any of them, to be honest. I think Amari and Hampton coming back is not great for this team. I mean, Justin Herbert, he's playing with the cast. I mean, he did okay yesterday, but let's be honest, they didn't play great on offense either. They kicked a whole lot of field goals. Their defense absolutely bailed them out, causing turnover after turnover. The Chargers had some turnovers as well. I'm not excited about really any Chargers player, maybe except Amari and Hampton. He's going to have a tough matchup as well. It's just a really rough time for a team that was so good to start the season, so exciting for fantasy football, but the injuries have really knocked them down, and they're facing an extremely tough team. Now, bouncing back in week 16, 100% possible, but you have to make it to that week because I don't think they're going to help us make it there in week 15.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And a guy that is in a lot of starting lineups right now and is dealing with a really unfortunate situation is Alec Pierce, mostly because of the Daniel Jones injury. Like, in the WalterPicks app and everything that we've updated for, all of the Colts offensive players really do take a big dip without Daniel Jones. So
It's a
Alec
disaster.
Pierce is he probably takes one of the biggest hits because of the role he plays in the offense of the deep threat. And any quarterback they're throwing out there does not have that ability like Daniel Jones did. And now he gets a matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, which are very, very negative. They're one of the best defenses in the NFL. So he really does scare me. Even Tyler Warren scares me a bit. So Seth, speak to your truth on what you think with this Colts offense without Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I've got Tyler Warren. He was one of my biggest draft players this year, which I feel like was a pretty solid take. But right now, I'm pretty scared about Tyler Warren, even more than Alec Pierce. I mean, Alec Pierce is probably a player that you've been putting in your lineup. That's a bonus that he's been startable. I don't think he's startable against the Seahawks. He does have that boom play potential. You never know. They could throw it up to him down the field. It just takes a few catches. So if you're like not sure what to do, you can plug in Alec Pierce and hope for that long touchdown. But I'm not banking on it. And for Tyler Warren, someone that's been so good all year, I'm looking to replace him if I can as well. You may not be able to in your league based on the waiver wire, but I'm certainly seeing what is out there for him as well, because this has been a team that's been so awesome for fantasy football. Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr. has had some great games. Alec Pierce, Tyler Warren, and Daniel Jones has been solid as well. And now all of a sudden, you hope you have got the Seahawks defense. Next week, you may want the 49ers defense. This is a disaster for a team that was so good for fantasy football the whole season.
Yeah, definitely. And another disaster, I guess you could say, is the matchups coming up for Hunter Henry. He has been a very startable tight end for us, really, the whole season with how good Drake May has been playing. But coming out of the bye, he gets the Buffalo Bills, which allow the number one least amount of fantasy points to the tight ends. Then he gets the Baltimore Ravens after that, and then the Jets in the fantasy playoffs, which is the more positive matchup. But still, this entire stretch is not good. So I would honestly leave him on the waiver wire because we are not putting him in our lineups against the Buffalo Bills. It has been true all season that they are not allowing points to tight ends, and it's not like they've played bums. They've played Dalton Schultz. They've played very good tight ends, a whole bunch of other ones I don't need to name. So I'm leaving him on the bench. Seth, do you think with how good this offensive is playing that he should be in our starting lineup and that he'll defy the numbers?
Well, to start, I want to say Dalton Schultz definitely appreciates the shout out as a top tier tight end. He has been pretty good. But I'll just point out week 5, he played the Bills 6.6 points. That was a game where he had 2 catches. That was a game where the Patriots also won. I would certainly not play him against the Buffalo Bills, who have been excellent against the tight end position.
And I would also sit another quarterback here in Caleb Williams, who really has not been amazing. He's been good in the positive matchups. You can clearly see it when we pull up the game logs for him. But in the negative matchups, he really does disappear as far as fantasy points go. And now he gets the Cleveland Browns. He gets the Packers again right after that. I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it at all. Like the pass volume is decent, but it's not efficient. And nobody's really standing out for Caleb Williams with the rushing upside either. It's just not something I want to trust in our fantasy playoffs. Seth, do you think that he can be in our starting lineup to get us into another week of playoffs?
No.
See, this is the best kind of analysis, guys. If you don't appreciate that, you get this nowhere else. So hit that follow button and more analysis on the defenses here too, because this is probably the most important part of the video. Defenses can literally win or lose you a week, and we want fantasy playoff wins. The Jaguars are going to be number 1. They get their matchup against the New York Jets. This is a really positive one for them because their defense is very good in stopping the run. A little bit softer in stopping the pass, but who are you stopping really? It's A.D. Mitchell, it's John Mechie, and it's possibly not even Tyrod Taylor if he doesn't play this week. So the Jaguars defense is by far one of the top options. Another top option is going to be the 49ers, something Seth alluded to as well. Very positive matchup against the Tennessee Titans this week. But now they also get the Indianapolis Colts the week after that with no Daniel Jones, which could be a disaster of an offense if we see this week what we're expecting to see. So the 49ers are a top one too, but they're probably the more added in your league. So one that's not added as much is the Bears getting theirs against the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders has actually been looking pretty decent, Seth. And I want to know what you think about this Bears defense because they are number 1 in turnovers this year. But Shedeur Sanders might be Shedeur Sandersing. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably better options just because I don't know. I don't trust the Bears defense to get the sacks. I don't trust them to get the interceptions. Like maybe they will build a little bit of a solid floor, but I like to not play someone that's just dropped 4 touchdowns like Shedeur Sanders did. It's probably safe enough, but you probably do have some better options out there. Like the Jaguars, I'd prefer. Like the 49ers, I'd prefer. But if you're stuck, if there's not much out there in their league, certainly better than someone playing a good offense. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and you guys should definitely go check the defensive rankings in the WalterPicks app just to make sure that the defense you have is the top option because the Jaguars and the 49ers are by far the top 2 waiver ones. So see if you have a defense that is top tier compared to these guys. And speaking of some kickers too, Evan McPherson has been very, very underrated. Now, a lot of people don't care about kickers and they just don't add them. He should be rostered in 100% of leagues. You can see his game log, but he also gets a matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, which is a very, very positive one.
Yeah.
Their defense has been a bit better as of late, but still nothing you really need to pay attention to as far as kicking points go, because with Joe Burrow back, this team is going to score a lot.
Agreed.
We can also go through get Kaimi Fairbairn, which is another guy that should be rostered in 101% of leagues, still rostered in under 50. gets his against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, one of the reasons he's so good is because this Texans offense is good, but not always good enough to score touchdowns in the red zone. So that's always what you want with these kickers, kind of the yin and yang of that.
One more thing,
Yeah.
Avery. He plays inside. It's December. Do you want to wake up on Sunday morning and check the weather every single week? Get somebody that plays inside. And he's playing Arizona, Las Vegas, and the Chargers. He's playing in great weather every single week of the playoffs. Somebody you can set and forget.
Exactly. Indoor games is always good for kickers. You can also get Carlos Santos if you need him. Another situation of the Bears might not score in the red zone every single time. The Cleveland Browns defense is pretty good at stopping that. That's going to finish out this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the live streams and the other videos coming later this week.